I think that's great. The world
It,
needs more brown sugar.
I agree.
Okay, we're on YouTube.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, guys. I know Saturdays are always sometimes tough, but glad you're here.
Well, Dave, you beat sending out rejection letters. Uh,
I don't know if I should be good for that.
yeah, I mean, it was a challenge between making the soup, sending out rejection letters, or being on In Touch with iOS. But you beat the rejection letters.
That works for me.
And yeah, and I didn't have anything else going on anyhow this morning. I mean, aside from sleeping.
Oh, I slept till I got up like 40, not even that, maybe a half hour ago. My wife's going on here. Jeez. Sorry, guys.
I get up at 4 for
In the
some unknown
afternoon?
reason in the morning
Oh,
and
ouch.
was up for like an hour and a half and had breakfast and then went back to bed for 2 hours.
Okay, well, that doesn't seem so bad then.
Yeah, just it'll mess up my whole day.
Yeah, I was up at um 7:30, but my cat was just snuggled up like completely wrapped around my arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I just laid there, kind of dozed off and on, and then at like 8:15, I got up,
All right,
which
guys.
was enough time to make myself look presentable, um, feed the cat, make some tea, forget to eat something and have to go grab a snack, and be here.
Glad you're here.
Me too.
All right, let's get going here.
Too
It'll
bad
be a
Chuck's
cozy
not
group.
here, so I could yell underpants.
Yeah. All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 345 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, and even some Mac and related technologies. I'm your host Dave Ginsburg, and we have our usual suspects here this week. First off is Marty Gencius. How you doing, Marty?
It's good. I mean, we're recording on a weekend, a little more laid
Yes.
back, less crazy stuff going on in the world for us. So weekends I enjoy doing this, actually. I enjoy doing on the weekends or anytime, but
No,
glad I can make the shift.
me too. Appreciate it. I had a little bit of a this thing called work. I had to do a work function on Thursday night and Thursday night, and then I had a meeting on Friday. So recovering from that, but everything's fine. That's why we're being here. That's the best part. And and Jeff Gammon is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And if I have to get up early on a Saturday morning, I'm glad it's to spend time with both of you.
Yes, yes, yes. So I did put a lot of stuff in our pre-show. Marty made that comment that yeah, there's way too many links in here, but that's okay. I'm gonna pace ourselves and find the best of the best here, so we'll be okay. Do the normal things. In touch with Vision Pro. Anything with beta this week, and there's a bit of a breaking news story I'm going to be talking about a little bit, as well as In Touch with Mac and all kinds of other stuff. So as we always, we start with In Touch with Vision Pro. And what happened was Apple released Vision OS 2.3.1. Is a minor update to the operating system that came out in September. It was 2 weeks after the launch of 2.3, and it's uneventful installation and basically just security updates. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything else we really could talk about, right, Marty?
Well, it's nice to see that when Apple is doing updates for all of its products now, Vision Pro is part of that, so it's in
Yeah.
line. So when I hear there's an iOS update out there, I will go ahead and check also with
Right.
Vision Pro, and they
Me
seem
too.
to be syncing them together, which is really kind of nice.
No, it went flawless. I was spending a quite a bit of time last night on my Vision Pro, and we'll talk about some other things here, but not much else to talk about besides that because there's nothing
Yep.
to really talk about. um, I couple articles here. This was interesting to see. This is on Patently Apple, and I thought it was a good topic to discuss here. Apple did win a new series of design patents, along with two new Vision Pro technical patents. They were granted these series of patents that's covering the tunable lenses and the waveguide display and the gaze display. Unlike patent applications, that provide the public with an abstract summary and details of the invention, design patents published around the world are limited to only providing the public with the design patent figures. We get a little technical here on this, but good to see that Apple has got a patent on this stuff so people can't steal it and use it without consequences. But it shows some images here with the band and with the way that it's designed, and yeah, pretty cool. I can get a little geeky here, but I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at this, Marty. But I thought this was interesting.
Yeah. And then at the bottom of this article, they have a diagram that looks, I don't know, like an arrow target or something. It's hard to really understand, but the idea that it's focusing on gaze tracking. So obviously they're setting the patent up to be able to make sure they know where your eyes are looking in the field and what that field of vision that you're using. And then the tunable or the changeable lenses. The idea with that, from what I understand, is you pop them in and you can just turn them and it will change the power or the strength of the lens, which means you could buy a set of those and it would be helpful to do demos with other people. They can just automatically twist it to the power or the strength that they need. And they have some ranges on them. I've seen ocular ranges in terms of anything below 3.5 plus to 3.5, something like that. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see them put these patents out.
Yeah. You take a look at this, Jeff. Is there anything you want to add as a comment?
Yes. What I'm seeing here does not surprise me at all. This feels to me like Apple doing their usual, let's protect our IP. And so what we're seeing here is just that. But I do like the idea that they have already locked in their patent for the adjustable lenses. And hopefully that's something that we will see. And this isn't just something that they're doing to block other companies from doing the same.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole intent of it being in place, because they don't want anybody stealing the patent and the design. So and Apple's very good at protecting their assets, and as many companies are. But I think it's pretty good. So, this was interesting, and I think somebody bought one of these. This is a company called D-Brand, and it's an always-on aperture case that protects your Vision Pro without interfering with the sensors and the buttons. They announced this last week. It was a protective cover for the Vision Pro, which is designed to protect the large glass display of the device. It's got multiple cutouts. It's polyurethane material. It's covered onto the front of that Vision Pro. It does not block any of the sensors or the buttons on the Vision Pro, as well as it can be left on pretty much at all times instead of using the cover. Other thing I like is it's got a little faceplate for the battery, which has got a clip, which I think is kind of cool. And have you started using this yet? Have you been using this yet, Marty? Because I
haven't got it. I just checked my tracking and it's in Glendale, Illinois. It was supposed to be here soon, but a couple of, they're running it through the USPS. And God bless the post office. I hope they stay and are with us, but when it comes to tracking with the USPS, for me, you can never tell when it's going to get here. I know when it maybe shows up at the local post office, but I don't know when it's going to get from here to there. I think
Yeah.
this is really pretty cool. I thought, well, this looks weird.
Yeah, it's 69
Uh,
bucks. It's not bad price for both.
yeah,
It's
I thought it
Crocs for
looks
your
weird,
Vision
but then
Pro.
That's
pardon?
right.
It's Crocs for your Vision Pro.
Yeah, it is. But
It
here's
really
the thing.
is.
Here's the thing that when it finally hit me, this is really pretty cool. You know, we have this whole cloth cover that covers it that's got like, I don't know, elastic around the side so it clamps on the side of it. And every time you want to use it, you have to pull it off because that's the protection. This you can just leave on forever, and it gives you probably the same or better protection. And you don't have to be on and off and on and off with this cover that they have. Um, so I'm a little excited about it
Yeah.
to see how it works because if you look at the picture, it has all the holes cut where all the sensors are. So it's you know it knows where it needs to be fitted and how it is. So I'm waiting for mine to come, and I'll probably leave that on once it comes instead of my
On the cover.
instead of the regular cover. Now they've sold these kinds of covers that are just all solid, soft rubber, clear plastic
Right.
that people use too. But I think this is going to be interesting.
Yep. And someone just joined us, Ben Raythix. I'm glad you were able to make it. A little bit of miscommunication. Glad you're here. How you doing, Ben? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing good, and I do have to say I apparently match the far more noticeable version of the aperture cover.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I agree with Jeff. It looks like Crocs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like Crocs. Yeah.
Yeah,
That said, I think I'd buy the black one. You can notice
did.
I
it.
bought the black one. I
did
got
too.
the black one.
I didn't go orange. No, there was orange or black. So
Oh, I'm actually kind of disappointed.
actually, the orange one when I went to buy it is sold out. So
Oh, well,
well.
black it is. So you could
So-
choose any color you wanted as long as it was black.
Or
Right.
orange and black. Well, I mean, the two colors they have are orange and black. I wish they would have done something fun.
Yeah.
Funner.
See, if it was navy instead of black, I would buy a Vision Pro just to get this.
I would like they can just put different paint in it. I'd like a psychedelic one. That would be
Oh,
kind of
that'd be
cool.
fun. How about glow
Or
in the dark?
stars. Black with, dark blue with stars. Yeah.
Yeah, just as long as it's not green and yellow.
Glow in the dark, Jeff. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be.
However, I think that would probably screw up the optic sensors.
It probably
little
would,
bit.
but that's not the point.
All right, let's move on to the next story here. The interesting. This was on The Verge. It was mysterious new Vision Pro retail app appears in the Apple's App Store. Apple quietly released a new app that suggests that it soon follow the third-party retailers to sell the Vision Pro headset. Vision Pro Demo Fit app is spotted in the App Store. We have a link in the show notes here by Apple firmware detective Aaron Paris. I didn't know there was an Apple firmware detective out there. That includes various features for matching customers for the required Vision Pro sizing and accessories. It's currently Vision Pro still currently is only able to be purchased through Apple directly, and customers who also are being fitted at the in-person Apple Store demo need to use an iPhone and iPad with Face ID to determine the precise fit. As we know, we've gone through this. So in the description of the actual app that you go, we'll have a link here. It just says using Vision Pro demo to measure a guest's face and determine their vision needs, and to choose the most suitable light seal, headband, and optic inserts. That's all it basically says. So, what do you think, Marty? I think are they going to start expanding to other retailers this quickly?
Yeah. First of all, this is the app that I think we all saw if we went to a recent demo. It's the app that's on the iPad that they're doing in the store to kind of help assist with the demos. I need to download it and see what I can do with it. The problem with this is here's the steps that happen. Oh, we found this cool thing that is an app that, well, what's the purpose of it? Well, it means that like Best Buy or Walmart or other third-party retailers can sell the Apple Vision Pro. Oh, Apple has a bunch they can't unload, so they're sending them to these retailers to sell because it's a failure as a product. That's the third step.
Yeah.
And no, this is just a different outlet for them. I'm not sure how competitive the price is going to get with this. I mean, maybe the retailers will knock 150 off of it or something like
Yeah.
that.
Maybe.
But I don't see this as the demise of the Vision Pro.
No, they're all in. Did you have any thoughts on this, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, look, as someone who's not in a major metro area, I'm lucky that I only have to drive an hour and a half to go to an Apple store. There are people in the Dakotas that have to drive days to get to an Apple store. It's
And boy, do they smell when they get here. Whew.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if this is truly opening up to additional retailers, this is a good thing because there are Best Buys everywhere.
Yeah.
I have
That-
a question.
I'm sure
After
Best Buy's been
Ben's
wanting
done.
to. I'm sure Best Buy's been itching to get this in their stores.
Yeah. That said, as someone who has worked at Best Buy,
Mhm.
Apple will have some pretty rigorous and specific
course.
training for any store that will carry these.
Makes sense. Any thoughts on this, Jeff?
Yeah, I have a question about this,
Sure.
and it's a question that I don't think we can answer, but it's just the question in my head. If this is an app for third-party resellers, why is it on the regular app store?
That's the thing. That's why it's
I just tried
mysterious.
to find it on the regular app store. I tried to just get it on my phone and couldn't search for it.
Hey,
Well-
it's on. I just put a link in our show notes with the app. So
Yeah. Well,
it's-
here's another idea for that. Online sales.
yeah, that could be it too.
Yeah, but it's so they expect the average user to get this and use it themselves.
The average user ain't spending $3,500 on a Vision Pro.
Yeah, but you need a Vision Pro to use this app.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's the app that you use when you're doing the whole setup for the Vision Pro. And
Yeah, well, here I've got. No, for those watching the video, it's in the App Store because I got it on my iPhone here, and I can install it. So you need the iPhone in order to interact with the Vision Pro to get. Even when we went through the setup process when Marty and I purchased it, they had to do the fitting. But what would happen is the associate at the Apple Store would assist in doing that because they're fitting it for you. So that maybe they're trying to extend it to on your own as well as possibly other retailers.
yeah, just seems like a weird place to put this app if it's just for third-party resellers.
Yeah,
Because
so
Apple has other avenues for delivering those apps
Oh yeah, no question.
to their retailers.
It's very mysterious. We don't know.
It is.
So
Dave,
anyway.
how are you getting? I'm not getting it. I feel jealous. I can't find this
all, I did
search.
was, all I did was go into this on the show notes and click the link I just put in there for the app, and it went right to it.
Okay.
Yeah, Marty, the thing is they know who you are and they know who Dave is. So that probably accounts for why Dave gets to see it and you don't.
Oh, jeez.
Because they're like, oh, that's Dave fracking Ginsburg. He gets
my
links
gosh.
to everything. But that Marty Gensius. Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Here comes
Yeah,
Trey.
nothing.
Moving on here. Moving into beta this week. There's still no beta just yet. It's 18.4 will be inevitable it's going to be out. We're hoping next week as we record this. But meanwhile, it's important that everybody installs 18.3.1. There were some bug fixes. This was released this past Monday as we record here. It is minor updates for that since it came out in September, and it's 2 weeks after 18.3. It's probably going to be followed by an update to 18.4. That's what's probably being anticipating. But it did have some pretty serious bugs. They've also released it on iOS 17, iPadOS 17, 17.7.5. We're still running that. So there was some pretty serious updates there as far as security goes. Anybody
I have a
thoughts on that?
hypothesis around this, Dave.
Yeah.
Because
Go
you
ahead.
know me.
I
iOS 18.3.1 had to come out because serious security flaws that they had to patch. And I think that they were in the process of getting ready to roll out 18.4 beta and then had to shift gears to take care of the security patches. And so that meant they had to hold 18.4 because they needed to have the security patches in that too. So we get 18.3.1 and then next week get 18.4.
Makes sense.
Anybody wants to add anything to that?
Well, I think, I always use the Jeff Gamet rule of thumb when it comes to updates, which is, and I think you said this once, that you read the announcement very carefully. Apple will say, we're encouraging everyone to update now. They won't tell you, oh, there's major security flaws, but we're encouraging everybody to update now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I update as soon as I find there's an update, I go ahead and do it.
Oh.
I've heard people in user groups say things like, well, I'm going to wait for a couple of days because if I wait for a couple of days, Apple might pull it back like they did 4 years ago on something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
enjoy your vulnerability for the next 4 days.
Yes,
Mhm.
we encourage you to update is Apple speak for we're all going to die.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So, as I said, it's inevitable. 18.4 is going to get released probably within the next week after as we record this. It was reported with Mark Gurman that it's expected, and it is a little longer wait than it's not normal user, not unusual, but not unprecedented. So Apple is probably wanting to fine tune all the stuff that's happening here. So, but we'll see. Actually, the other thing too with Apple Intelligence, the upgrades to Siri, the upgrades may not be fully ready until iOS 18.5, which is crazy. This article this week.
Or 19.
Or yeah, we probably 19th the rate they're going here.
I don't know. I'm thinking iOS 21. That's when we'll finally have what Apple really promised us.
Blackjack.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely okay with a delay. There are going to be people that are going to go nutsy over it. It was supposed to be done by this. I'd rather have it done right. I'd rather have them get as much data as they can on what's going wrong with it and fix it. And, just wait for those other voices to die down that are complaining about it's not here, it's not now, and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm fine with waiting on it.
I'm absolutely fine as well. And I will hold Siri as an example of why I'm fine waiting for it. Apple has way overpromised what Siri
They
can
have.
do, and we're still waiting for Siri to become what Apple led us to believe it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens. I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I was using some ChatGPT stuff and Copilot, and now I'm getting pretty heavy into all of them just because commitments for work that we'll have to be got to be really on top of this AI stuff. And I wanted to try it on Apple Intelligence. You can't really do anything really other than it's just proofreading what you've written versus suggesting stuff and then trying to write it as you do. So it's important to be aware that it's not ready yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, this isn't even a beta; it's a technology preview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on. This was interesting. Wearing your Apple Watch on your ankle. There's a report out there that there's some reason why some people want to wear. It was from the New York Times. It is on via Mac Rumors that highlighted the trend of people wearing their Apple Watch on their ankles instead of their wrists. Some people have tiny wrists and the Apple Watch fits too loosely. Some people have wrist tattoos, which of course interferes with the heart rate sensing. Some people believe that the Apple Watch provides more accurate step counting when it's worn on the ankle instead of the wrist.
That's not even possible. It's actually designed to register step count based on movement from your wrist. If you put it on your ankle, it's not tracking the same movement.
Oh no, Apple didn't comment on this, but on this report, but support documents and white papers for the watch mention that the device heart rate and countermeasuring functions are validated for wearing it on the wrist. No mention.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe if I'd read the article, I wouldn't have needed to make that comment.
No, that worked perfectly here. Any other thoughts, Jeff? What do you think?
All right. I'm not going to judge people for doing what makes them happy.
Oh, I will.
Ridiculous.
However, that said, this seems like kind of a weird thing to do, especially because it's not going to give you the data that you get, the accurate data that you get when it's worn on your wrist. Also, I believe for the sensors that are tracking, heart rate and blood ox, assuming you have a model that supports all of that, it's based on where everything sits in your wrist anatomically, and that's not the same in your ankle. I'd also be concerned that having it on my ankle, that it would have a higher likelihood to get smacked into something.
Yeah.
Also, I really, really want to ask someone what time it is and watch them have to sit down and grab their foot and try and pull it up to their face to read their watch. It seems silly to me, but if it makes you happy, okay, you get on with your swatch on your ankle action. The 1980s are calling it, and they want their design trends back.
So I wonder about this in the sense of for repair. If I smack it into the wall and I take it into the Apple store, are they going to say, well, can you tell us how this got broken? And I'm like, well, I was wearing it on my ankle and I smacked it into the wall. I guess they would still honor whatever Apple Care agreement, but I think this brings up a whole big issue about damage to it. And as far as wrist tattoos, you should have listened to your mama when she said, don't get those sleeve tattoos. And this is what the payment is. This is the karma that comes back. You can't use the Apple Watch on your wrist.
Yep. Ben, what about you?
Honestly, people, if you want an ankle tracker, they make them. Just go out and buy an ankle tracker
or
watch where it is.
Commit a crime and be under house arrest. You can get one too.
Yeah. This is true.
Oh my. So that is the fun part of people just doing different things with the way they want to put it on your ankle. I just still was perplexed about this. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. This is breaking news here. I'm saying breaking news. Hell did freeze over. Apple now lets you move digital purchases from one Apple account to another. Hallelujah. When did this? This has only been 20 years in the making, right, guys?
Yeah.
If you have two Apple accounts, multiple digital purchases between them, Apple now may have a way, or will have a way, and it does. I try to do it, but I'll get to that in a minute. To consider the accounts by migrating content from one to another. As it was noted by Stephen Hackett of 512 Pixels, they have a actual legit support document. I have that in show notes, but providing instructions for moving it from a secondary account to a primary account. Every apps, music, books, TV shows, and movies that have been purchased on a secondary account can then be migrated to a main account, which is useful for people who have separate accounts. Yeah, duh. It's been like my nightmare, and I did my workaround with it. It's been working fine, but I want that all over on my own account, the other account. So you have to be signed in with both accounts on the device, on an iPhone or an iPad. And then you have to, there's several steps to go through, such as making sure that both accounts are in the same country, ensuring that the secondary account doesn't have a remaining balance. If you are, you just go through the checklist that they have here, and Apple outlined, and then read through Apple's info on what happens during an account migration, and how to undo it. All right, well, I tried this. And turns out, and I was on chat with Apple support. That's how persistent I was to get this thing to work. The problem is, it has a new requirement now. This silly requirement that you don't have Apple Music on your on either of the ones that you have. So it's really tough to know that it is a thing where between those you have to have music off of one account, and then it'll migrate to the other. So I'm going to open up to the crowd here, and go ahead, Jeff, and check that out, and let me know what you think.
I haven't even bothered to try doing this yet, because I have one of the accounts that I would be using to do this is old enough that it can't do two-factor authentication. It's stuck at the two-step authentication level. And you have to have two-factor authentication enabled to be able to do this. So I'm dead in the water right there. I didn't even know about the requirement. So it's Apple Music. You can have Apple Music on only one of the accounts when you start.
Right. That's
so.
I mean, I got the whole text string. I think I should have copied that and put in the show notes too, with all the back and forth I went with them.
Yeah. So does that mean music that I have bought on the one account actually doesn't migrate over?
It migrates over, but it has to be. I know it doesn't migrate over. You have to download it. Is it music that you purchased? You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to, because it sees it on the account, but it doesn't want anything on Apple Music at all. Here's what their thing that they told me after going back and forth.
So streaming music, that's not what I need to worry about. It's what I've purchased.
Purchased music.
So purchased will go over. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
It should. Yeah, you're not buying anything because Apple Music subscription covers that.
Yeah.
So
but I'll
if you
lose
had
those
purchased
playlists.
Yeah. No.
If I
he
had
actually said
any.
the playlist would come over, because I was concerned. I have a ton of playlists, so I was a little concerned about that. But this is the caveat that really irked me. Going back and forth. So yeah, you need to cancel your Apple Music subscription on the one account that you're transferring over. Well, it's done. And then went back and forth, and then he says, "Oh well, no, you're probably going to have to cancel the Apple Music subscription on the account you want it on, because they need to be able to sync." Well, then he goes back and says, "Well, you're going to have to cancel your entire Apple One bundle, and then
This makes no
do the
sense.
migration, and then resubscribe to it again." I mean, everything, you don't lose things when that happens, because they give you a grace period, and I think, hoping that you come back if those who do that. But it scares me a little bit. I also got family involved because they're on my Apple One bundle. So
Yeah. Meanwhile, somewhere you have Spotify going like this.
Yeah, exactly. So I may just wave the white flag and just forget it. I don't know if I want to go through
I'm not
this
even
hassle.
going to start.
Yeah, so beware of this. I mean, it was exciting at first, but then after going through all this, I don't know if I want to do it or not. My subscription for Apple One renews on Monday as we record this, so it's going to be it just scares me. I don't think I want to do it. What do you think, Marty?
We spoke a little bit about this because we talked about Apple Legacy on the Old Mac Gang podcast, and I was curious because I would like to leave the 500 movies I've purchased through Apple to my son. And when this first came out, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. There's a possibility I could do this. But yesterday you posted the 9 to 5 Mac article, which will be in the show notes for listeners or viewers. And it has all the exceptions in it. And I'm like, this is a rope-a-dope. I mean, I feel like I have been pulled into this and I'm just going to get flattened if I attempt to do it. So, I might just give my son access to my Apple ID as I am ready to pass on, and just he can have another ID where he can get access to all the stuff that I had anyways. So
You're muted, Dave. You're still muted, Dave. I'll start.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And it's Apple user groups. I'd be worried giving them that challenge to do that, because that someone's going to mess something up, and I think it's a little too convoluted for many users, honestly.
And they could
Apple
really
shouldn't
make
have
this
done
simple.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not something that should have been exposed to the public. Maybe they could have done a thing where they made an announcement, hey, if you want to merge content from two accounts, even though you still can't merge two accounts, contact Apple support, and they will do the process for you.
Yeah.
So this isn't something for the average person, and it's barely something for
me.
experienced users. Yeah.
So we will see. There's a number of articles in the show notes. You can review it for yourself if you want to do it, including the Apple support article that goes through all the details. And we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll take one for the team and try it, but then maybe not. We'll see how I feel about it, because canceling Apple One bundle, that scares me. It does. And then having to add it back again. So, we'll see. So let's go ahead and move on to In Touch with Mac this week. Apple did release Mac OS Sequoia 15.3.1, and it came a few weeks after the launch of Sequoia 15.3. It's again, security updates, fixes recommended for everybody. We got to push it out. There was enough bugs. Even corporate worlds are updating right away too. So you just got to make sure that you are going out there and updating it. I didn't see anything else other than bug fixes, so I don't think there's much to talk about unless you guys had anything to add. This story was interesting. The Mac App Store stops working on older versions of Mac OS. Mac users who are running Mojave 10.14 and earlier versions report widespread issues accessing the Mac App Store, and with many unable to sign in or even download previous purchased apps. This was a report that was compiled that problems are starting to emerge. It was around January 24th of 2025, coinciding with Apple's making changes to the Mac App Store receipts. Users attempting to access the store with affected systems receive various error messages, including an unexpected error. I like that error. It's always my favorite.
But it really is expected. We expect it now.
But it's unexpected. So what do you guys think on this?
It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's when did Mojave get released? What, 5 years, 6, 7 years ago now, something like that.
Yep.
So
I
understand.
I just can't. That's not in my thinking sphere of not updating or upgrading, and then expecting things to continue to work that way forever. So
I don't think this problem relates to all the four of us, but there are people out there who just don't want to upgrade, and they stay on old versions of Mac OS.
Or are tied to a specific 32-bit app that they can't upgrade.
Right. That's that there. Yeah.
Yeah, and for some users, they have no need to upgrade their hardware. They're casual users. The Mac that they bought 8 years ago is still more than powerful enough for everything that they need to do. why would they buy a new computer just to have the most recent current operating system and apps if what they're using actually truly does meet all their needs?
But they
Absolutely.
can't expect everybody to be Apple to be everything to everybody 7 years later.
Right.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're fine falling behind, in a manner of speaking, and everything you need to do still works exactly the way you need it, okay, then fall behind and still do what it is that you need to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, this only affects the App Store,
Right.
not the Macs running.
But
Yeah.
having an older version like that sooner or later, especially if you use a third-party browser like Chrome or Firefox or Edge, they're going to eventually stop supporting those old Mac OS versions.
That's
and
true.
Then you're then you're opening yourself to even more security problems. Apple's usually pretty good at keeping Safari updated on the old versions. I think, but there's no bug fixes that are released on a Mac OS version that old. So
Whenever anybody wants to get upset about this, I try to think now, what would this be parallel in the PC world? If you had a
Windows 8?
7-year-old, yeah, if you had a 7-year-old operating system in the PC world, would you be expecting it to have the kind of access that other people are having now? So,
yeah, Windows
Yeah,
is trying to
actually,
do this to Windows, or Microsoft is trying to do this to Windows 10.
Yep,
As we
it's
speak.
end of life for good later this year. Luckily, where I work, we've already long ago updated to Windows 11. So, but there's companies out there. I see it I go into doctors' offices, dental offices, and I'm like, oh God, they're running Windows 10. Because I could tell. I mean, I've been around Windows for a long time, and it just scares me, especially since I got my medical records on there, and they're using a version of an OS that's near end of life. 10's still being supported. I mean, Microsoft's going to release updates until I think around August, September it's where it's end of life. But Dell and a lot of other PC manufacturers are already telling you, got upgrades, not going to be supported anymore. No more security updates. Just like when they did XP. I mean, XP was a long that OS went for a long time afterwards. But there's still some crazy people who just don't want to upgrade a piece of hardware or something that works because XP works. But then they pay these tens of thousands of dollars. Microsoft will provide security updates after the fact, but that funds their need to cover those costs when they have to do that. But I think XP is pretty much gone. But yeah,
I'm struck by the fact that you said something that I am now doing too, which is you walk into any service position that has a computer, and the first thing you do is you look at the computer to figure out what they're either running or what they're using, and then they go, "This thing is so slow." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it."
They always complain about their computer system, because that's the thing. I go to my eye doctor. Our system's so slow, and they don't want to upgrade. And apparently you don't have a good contract with your IT company.
Yeah, and it turns out the IT
upgrade.
company is actually the practice owner's nephew or niece. Probably the nephew, because the niece would have been all over, hey, uncle, you need to get all this stuff up to speed. But the nephew would be all like, yeah, I can make this work.
Exactly. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. People, but don't buy a new Mac, please. You can get a MacBook Air for $799, and they're cheap out there. Get a Mac if you want to keep going. And it all depends on what you need, I guess. We'll see where it goes.
Spend
All
even
right.
less. Get a Mac Mini.
Yes.
Well, exactly. $600. Got a beautiful Mac Mini. All right, so let's move on here. It looks like there's going to be a quote unquote an event this coming week as we record here on February 19th on Wednesday, and it's some mysterious announcement was teased by none other than Tim Cook on social media. He posted this on, I believe, X. Yes, Marty's favorite social media. That get ready to meet the newest member of the family, and it's got a little animation of the Apple logo going, and it's going to be Wednesday, February 19th. Well, pretty sure it's going to be a new iPhone SE 4. That's what they rumored to be calling it. And it's going to be the next generation, but we're concerned. There's still debates on what the naming is going to be. Is it going to be SE Special Edition, or is it going to be maybe it's going to be 16 SE or whatever they're going to call it? But it sounds like the iPhone SE is going to have an iPhone 14 style design with a 6.1-inch screen, and it'll mark the end of the smaller iPhones. I'm sorry, Brittany, Brittany Smith, you're not. There's no more small ones. Because the SE currently is only 4.7 inches, so it's going to be quite an increase. But it's not as extreme as you think, really. But
Yeah, it is.
it's extreme enough for those who have the smaller phones now that they're okay with it. So we'll find out. I'm not going to go through all this stuff. But the one big thing is what's going to happen is the two big things actually. No more Lightning on that. That is the last iPhone that has Lightning connector. That's going to be gone, and then that's going to go to USB-C. And it is and the fact that it's going to be a different phone, really. What do you guys think? Sorry, you Ben.
It's. Well, I mean, number one, this might be a little bit higher end than people are thinking because it's not going to be only replacing the SE.
Mhm.
It's going to be replacing the 14 as well.
Right.
But it's going to be kind of in the whole tradition of the SE family, whatever the name is, that you take basically an old body, old technology, and put Apple's latest chip in it.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing too is that's going to be the end of Touch ID too. That's going to have Face ID on it, from what they're saying in the rumors. So that's another thing that's going to change. What about you, Jeff? What do you think?
Yeah, we're due for a new version of the SE, I think.
Overdue.
Overdue. And it might not be the big seller in the United States, but we have to remember that Apple is a global company. And in other countries, the SE sells much better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense to come up with a new version. I am disappointed that it's going to have the bigger screen, because we have for the main iPhones, we have long since gone past the days when it's a single hand device. And one of the things for me has always been the iPhone should be able to be used with one hand only. And you can't do that anymore. The screens are just too big. And
Yeah.
yes, they've done the things like, hey, you can do the tap to drop the screen halfway down so you can reach the stuff at the top, and that's great, but it's not a one-handed device. So Apple is giving up on that completely. But it also makes sense because Apple has made it clear that the iPhone is no longer a phone first. It's a pocket computer that happens to be able to make phone calls.
Right. About you, Marty?
I'm a little disappointed. I would like to have a smaller, cheaper phone that I can take with me to travel, and not have to lug the behemoth around of the Pro Max. And for me, 6.1 is just as much as carrying around a big iPhone anyways. I would have liked to have stayed with a 4.7 form factor,
Mm-hmm.
and keep it cheap because that makes it easy for me if it gets stolen or lost. I don't have to worry too much about the cost or the expense that's associated with it. But I was really disappointed with the words, "Get ready to meet the newest member of the family."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess it's not really a new member of the family. It's like the family member got older. And when I heard newest member of the family, and then they have this animated logo, I'm wondering, are we going to get something like a HomePod screen or
Yeah.
something exciting that would truly be a new member of the family?
Yes.
So that's, I don't know. I'm curious about it. I don't think I'm curious about it enough to purchase it. Depends on the price point.
Yeah.
But again, it's still too big of a phone for what I wanted. Maybe I just have to wait for the iPhone flip.
There you go.
There you go.
Watch
Marty,
now. Tim Cook
here's
gets married right in the middle of Apple Park.
there we go. Marty, here's another rule you can use to figure out if it's a new product completely or if it's a refresh. If Apple does an announcement where they say, "Hey, we're going to introduce the new member of the family on the 19th." There were no press invites for an event. This is just a product refresh.
Yeah.
If Apple had sent out the media invites, then we're getting something more significant, which could include a new product category or a completely new device in one of the categories. So this is a product refresh. That's it.
Yeah, that. I
Now
think
watch, they'll prove me wrong this time. But
Apple's
historically,
good at teasing. Apple's good
No,
at
they're
teasing
gonna
stuff.
what
And then,
they're gonna have somebody show up and put the watch on their ankle and say, "Here's our new member of the family."
right?
I mean, honestly, I expect a video to come with this, but I'd be very, very surprised if anybody actually showed up to Apple Park.
No, it's definitely going to be an announcement. They're doing
Yeah, and one of the things they talked about was they're test flighting the new Apple modem. That this might be the device that has that the chip that the Apple is making to replace Qualcomm. I think
that was part of the rumors that this might be their first device that they put that their own modem. If it's ready, that's a good question. So I guess we'll find out on Wednesday, February 19th, right?
Yep.
So, all right. I wanted to talk a little bit. This is kind of some interesting things as far as apps that are not on the iPad, but they are on the iPhone. So there's 5 iPhone apps that Apple still hasn't brought to the iPhone. Apple's made some strides to bringing long missing apps to iPad in recent years. Of course, the calculator was always the one that comes to mind that was noticeably absent. And after years of requests from users, Apple did finally introduce the health, weather, and calendar apps on the iPad and iPadOS 16 and 17, and 18 providing a tweaked experience with the bigger screen. But with the debut of the Invites app we talked about last week, which offers a streamlined way to create and manage and send event invitations, so it's kind of cool. And the app allows users to design invitations with customized backgrounds, photos, and all that stuff. As far as invites, it's just not there. It's not a user-friendly way of working on an iPad. So a couple of things they're probably looking at is the walled app. Why can't we have a walled app? And I understand because probably most Apple users are going to probably not want to be holding up their iPad using the walled app unless they're just making a purchase online, but you can still make a purchase by using Apple Pay on the iPad. So I don't know if this is going to be something that is going to be a thing that people do it. Even like they give an example, like the iPad mini might find the wallet beneficial for accessing event tickets or passes without needing to switch their iPhone. The sports app is another one that's becoming more and more popular on the iPhone, but nothing on the iPad yet. It's just an iPhone only app. The phone, I don't know why anybody would want their phone on an iPad, in my opinion, because you can do Wi-Fi calling on the iPad. Why would you need any phone? Why would you need any iPhones in there? So, Jeff, I'm gonna start with you. Oh, go ahead, Ben. I'll start with you. What do you think on phone, these first two things?
Yeah, with the phone, doing calling from the FaceTime app is kind of a pain.
It is, but you can do the phone. I guess I could put the phone on the iPad and you just use a speakerphone. You're obviously not gonna be putting it up to your ear, right?
No.
So, what do you think, Jeff, on the number of the rest of these items I just reviewed here?
Okay, first, we'll just go down the list, and I'll try and be fast. Invites,
Yeah,
not rolling it out on iPad and Mac when they rolled it out on iPhone is, in my opinion, a poor decision.
Yep.
Because it's more than iPhone users that would want to create these. Also, keep in mind there are a lot of Mac users that have Android phones. So when you limit something just to iPhone unnecessarily, you're cutting out a a part of your user base. So it should have been across the board. Wallet, I would like to see Wallet across all my devices. So I have a unified interface for dealing
Yeah.
with my credit cards. Yes, I know I can add other cards in to Mac OS, and you can do it on iPad OS separately from Apple Pay, but I don't have a unified interface. So give me that. Sports, I don't care about this, but it should be there because the iPhone is not the only place that sports fans are doing computing things. So give them that. And I'm going to disagree with you on phone, but it's only because I had time to think about it since you started talking. Phone app, or at least a subset of features from phone app, should now be on iPad because, like I just mentioned, iPhone is no longer a phone first. So give people a way where they can at least check voicemail on their iPad, and answer calls on their iPad without needing to have their iPhone nearby. Or what if you're someone, again, who uses an Android phone, but you have an iPad and you would like to be able to do some of your phone things while an iPad is just sitting there. No, you're not going to hold it to your head. You put your AirPods in and do calls that way. And why was the Journal app not rolled out across all devices initially? Apple is, in my opinion, actually killing the Journal app by not offering it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't even launched the Journal app to look at it because it's useless to me as an app that lives only on my iPhone.
Agreed. So,
Yeah.
Marty,
No
what about you?
notes.
Yeah, I just following Jeff's logic, which can sometimes be scary, but
Yeah.
when I look for apps, I go scroll right down to the place where what devices is this on, and I've looked at a couple of them just today because people were talking about apps, and I can only get them on my phone and on my on iPad. I can't get it on my desktop. So the importance of have them across all platforms for third party apps, not just Apple apps, but for third party apps, I think is really important. There's some of these apps that I don't mind. I'm surprised. Invites just came out. Maybe it will become available in another rendition in iPad OS and will have different functionality in it.
Just like Journals did.
Yeah. And Wallet, I feel kind of weird about having my wallet on my iPad or on even on my desktop. On my phone, it feels like I've got that little cove that I can do my wallet stuff on. But I get it in terms of purchasing and following it through. Sports should be on the iPad. Well, it should also be on
Absolutely.
OS because that's a natural place for people to check scores and then watch games if they have access to that service. They can jump right to their iPad. So I look at all of these and say these are apps I do not have to buy. Apple gives them to me, so I don't look gift horses in the mouth. However, I wish it was on. There were more horses on more places. So
I agree with you on the iPad with the sports because I mean, many times I've been in casinos, sports books, that kind of thing. Tons of people have their iPads. Why wouldn't you want to have a better have that data? I mean, they use other things, of course, but and the web. But well, yeah, if Apple's trying to grow the sports app, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Plus, ESPN is available on the iPad.
Right, and ESPN Bets has they have a betting program too. They're doing that as well. So yeah, good points. Let's hope some of these come to iPad, but look how long it took for the calculator to come. It was a long time before that happened. So
God, right?
yeah. So we'll get into some of the news stories here before we wrap up this week. Amazon revamps the Prime Video app on the Apple TV. Here's what's new. The app is now better optimized with TVOS platform. You can now use the Siri remote to swipe through the TV shows and movies, and touch gestures for fast forwarding, and suggested search results are now appearing as you type. And of course, you can search with the Siri remote as well. The app now shows high higher resolution imagery, and there's a new motion of different effects. I actually noticed this because I have been watching some shows on Prime lately, and I'm glad to see Amazon finally improve this for the Apple TV. It's good. What do you think, Jeff?
I cannot praise Amazon for doing this because while it's great that the features are there, these are almost all features that are part of the operating system and they get for free. And they
Yeah.
chose to not tie into the hooks that allow these things to happen until now. So had they done this in the beginning, I would have said, hey, this is great. Amazon has given us a very Apple native feeling app. And instead, they chose to do their own thing and not tie into all the stuff Apple gave them for free as developers.
Right. And you, Marty?
I don't use enough Apple TV to notice the difference. I mean, I do on my desktop, but the actual device and I'd use the app on my desktop. The actual device I just don't use. We have one Apple TV downstairs in our den and rarely go down there to watch television or any streaming service when I can either watch it on my Vision Pro headset or more typically on one of my screens here in the office while I'm working.
Yep. And you, Ben?
Well, on the bright side, they actually implemented these enhanced unit interface features by design and are not rolling them back like some other companies.
Mm-hmm. There's that.
Yeah.
Yep. So glad they did it. Also, this was kind of interesting. Apple TV Plus app now available on Android. Yes, Apple announced today the release of the Apple TV app for Android smartphones and tablets. It's now available in the Google Play Store. With the Apple TV app, Android smartphone and tablet users have a more convenient way to access Apple TV Plus streaming services instead of having to rely on the app on the web at tv.apple.com. It does provide access to the MLS season pass for those who subscribe for soccer, and access to the entire season and the playoffs. Android users can now access this by just signing into their Apple account and subscribe directly through the Google Pay's billing system. As we know, Apple TV Plus is $9.99 per month, $99 a year. And then you got to pay for MLS season pass, which is $99 a year, $14.99 a month. And it is, of course, included in the Apple One bundle, as we know. Unlike Apple platforms, the Android app does not provide access to the iTunes Store for renting or purchasing TV shows, and movies are on an a la carte basis. The app also does not show a user's library of media that had already been purchased. So they put it on the Android. They put it on the Android device, but then you've got a lot of caveats, right, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, not surprised they did this. With services becoming services right now is the second most important part of Apple's business. So the more places they can get that subscription revenue, the better. And just leaving Android untouched for ideological reasons didn't make sense to Apple anymore.
Yep. How about you, Jeff?
I was excited about this until you started telling me about the restrictions. So I just grabbed my Android tablet and turned it on, and I'm going to
Android
install
phone.
it
I'm gonna do it.
and play with it. But yeah, if you don't have access to what you're already paying for, what you've already purchased, or it's limited, that's a problem.
It is.
Although this should have been on Android years ago, I feel, because Apple needs to take the old school Netflix approach to success, not their current approach, which is actually not good, but their old school approach, which is you want your app everywhere. I used to make jokes about, hey, bought a new toaster, comes with Netflix. So you should have Apple TV on every possible device. So I'm glad it's here on Android now. But wow, the limitations that they have, that's disappointing. It's Apple is on a roll right now over the last couple of weeks of rolling out something that sounds really good on the surface and then is full of disappointment underneath.
True. I agree with you on that. Go ahead, Marty.
But assuming, for me, I read this and maybe I don't read as much depth into it, but it's like, oh, this is exciting. It's going to introduce Apple TV Plus to a whole group of folks who wouldn't have in the past looked at it. And frankly, some of the content on Apple TV Plus is so good for them to be able to see what's available through our ecosystem and what's being produced. I don't know much about what's in the Google Play Store in terms of content, but this is unique and pretty incredible stuff, and people will be exposed to it. So, yeah, restrictions in terms of what you can or can't do, I think that's just sort of where they are right now, and that might be contractual, or the limitations of contractual stuff that they can and can't do with the platform. But I'm excited that it opens it up to a bunch of folks who might not even have ever seen an Apple TV Plus platform.
I'm going to make it worse for you now. It won't run on my device.
I
Looking
just
for Apple
downloaded.
TV.
This is a Pixel 8, so I'm trying it. But
So how many people have devices, Android devices, who are like, oh yeah, that'd be great, and
probably
then
like two versions back, and that's it.
yeah, well, and so many Android devices, you don't have control over the version of the OS that's on here,
Right.
and which I'm assuming is the case here, because this is actually a hacked Fire tablet. But yeah, so I can't even run the Apple TV app on this. Well, that was
I
a fun
just think
experiment.
that's a sick burn. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Apple's way of telling me, dude, you have a stack of iPads over here. Just use one of those.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Oh, see, I have a couple. I have a stack of them over here too from old iPads that probably don't run the latest OS. So yeah, I wonder if it runs on there. Probably not. All right, last story here. Apple did complete the acquisition of Pixelmator. As we know, the Pixelmator was last year announced that it was being acquired by Apple, and today Apple confirmed that the acquisition has been completed after Apple receiving regulatory approval. The Pixelmator for iOS and Pixelmator Pro and Pixel Photomator apps now are updated with a new splash screen announcing the deal. As we know, Pixelmator is a well-known image and photo editor that competes with Photoshop and other Adobe editing tools with focus on ease of use and performance and price. So no changes to the app so far, and this is kind of exciting to see that Apple has jumped into this, and hopefully they leave it somewhat alone.
Yeah.
What we're possibly hearing. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, if there's ways they can bring it closer into Apple's other apps, good, but leave the team do what they do because they are damn good at it. In fact,
I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
in fact, this makes so much sense because the Pixelmator team on the two apps made such an Apple-like experience that it made it just, if Apple were to make Photoshop, it would be Pixelmator.
And that's why they have it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just launched
Go ahead,
Pixelmator, and because I hadn't launched it since the acquisition was completed, so I just shared you a screenshot of the splash screen.
Yep, I see it too. I just launched it.
Yeah, Ben, I'm with you. I hope that Apple does not screw this up, and that they treat this like some of the other acquisitions that they have made, where it gets to run independently. And although some of those, it hasn't worked out so well, um, but hopefully this is one where it
Yes.
does get to continue being its own thing.
Yes, more logic, less dark skies.
Yeah. And what was the um oh, there was one, it was an
Shazam?
audio app that they bought years ago. Actually, I think eventually got rolled into what Logic is. And I remember having the USB dongle that I had to plug in to use the app, and then Apple bought them, and then it just turned into a crap show, and ultimately I just stopped using it because Apple messed it all up.
Yep.
Good times. I don't want that to happen here.
Anything you want to add, Marty?
Yeah, I would say I'm a minimal user of photos. And when I go in there, sometimes I want to try and do some editing with it, and it has a limited tool set in there. What I would like to do is get something in the middle of Pixelator Pro or Photoshop that allows me to kind of do a more extensive or more possibilities of edits. And so, yeah, keep the pro products at the pro level, keep the products at the regular level. But I think since they now owe them, maybe bringing the tools up in iPhoto or in Photos to increase the capability of that app, and nobody is jumping to Adobe anymore, um, in order to make I mean, the average photographer doing average photo editing is not going to try and pay for a heavy tool to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. Pixelmator is not as heavy as Photoshop, so it's a lot more user friendly, and the price too. It's a dramatic difference
Yeah.
in price between the two. You guys talked about Apple not gutting it. Apple, if you remember a long time ago, Apple purchased FileMaker, and then they finally decided many years ago that they brought the name Claris back to it, so it's Claris FileMaker, but it's still a wholly owned subsidiary of Apple. But Apple has pretty much left that alone for all these years.
Yeah, yeah. Literally, they have an entirely separate CEO.
Right. So
Yeah,
Pixelmator, I think it's a little small, but a smaller type of app versus. But who knows? It might come. It might come up that way.
can we please have a database on our platform that doesn't cost an arm and a leg? And I mean,
There's that.
I go back to the
FileMaker's very
bento
expensive.
days.
Yeah.
Bento,
Oh,
yes.
Bento, Marty, you opened an old wound there. Bento is so good, was so good.
Yeah.
Bento
And
should have been part of iWork.
yeah, and Bento sold really, really well. And so FileMaker killed it. Even though it was a good selling product, they killed it because they realized they were actually gutting FileMaker sales because Bento was so good. So
Yeah, I need a database for a club I'm in. I need a database for, I don't need FileMaker.
yeah,
And
I
there's
get it.
no product that I found that fits in that in between.
When ClarisWorks transitioned into AppleWorks and we lost the database component, I always thought that was weird because that was a big hole that Apple left in their product lineup, and they have never filled it. And it would have been great if Apple had a bento like product, but I don't know. I don't get why we don't have that entry level basic database tool on the Mac.
Yep. No, I agree. And yeah, looking at the pricing now they have subscription. I haven't looked at the FileMaker in a long time. Now they're doing a subscription base now.
Yeah,
$21
they
a month.
did that a few years ago.
Yeah, that's how long I've been since I've looked at FileMaker. But yeah, $21 a month. That's a lot of money for somebody that is just. I mean,
Right.
we do it that Maybe it's better to go to our friend Jim Ray and let's give the shout out to Panorama for his database software. So
Right. Yeah. And I'm seeing more people just like giving up and I'm trying to find something Mac native to
yeah,
use, and they're just using Airtable.
yeah. So all right. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. We had an unusual Saturday recording, but it was great to have everybody here as well as this fine crew I have with this great show. But let's go ahead and wrap up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, and you also can follow us on Blue Sky at In Touch with iOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show, and we would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified when we are live streaming, usually on Thursday nights. Today was Saturday morning. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped in that magazine. This link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatchers, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, but many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there on our website. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon and Blue Sky at DaveG65. And I'm mixing it around here. Jeff Gamet, so great to have you here this week. Where can people find you?
I'm glad the timing worked out so that I could spend my Saturday morning with the 3 of you. So you can find me on social medias as Jay Gamet. I'm active on Mastodon, a little bit on Blue Sky, and I'm getting better at posting on PixelFed instead of Instagram. Then for shows, Tuesdays, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, here with you, Dave, on In Touch with iOS. Then British Tech Network, Big Show, and Mac Show. Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brindamore, and I do Retro Rewatch.
Great. Thanks for being here. And Ben Rathick, thanks for making it. A little bit of a communication breakdown, but yeah, where I'll make to the show. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Ben Rathig on your social media of choice. On Tuesdays, you can mostly find me on Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner. I'm not screwing up the name of the shows again.
That's my job, Ben.
Yes. On Thursday and Friday, you can sometimes find me on the British Tech Network with noted non-Brit Jeff Gamet. And of course, here on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays, usually with Mr. Dave Ginsburg.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Marnie Jensius, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
People can connect with me on Blue Sky at Jensius, Jencius, at Blue Sky. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Find shows I'm involved in at the podtalk.net website, here on Thursdays with In Touch with iOS, and Tuesdays with Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices Live. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, with Eric Bolton on the Vision Profiles. Wednesdays, 9 o'clock, Old Mac Gang. Those are the 2 shows that I'm streaming live right now.
Great.
And in a couple of minutes, downstairs in the kitchen, deboning a stewed chicken.
There you go.
If you really want to
chicken soup.
Which thankfully will not be a podcast.
No, it won't be. All right.
But it would be great if it was.
Yeah.
That's what TikTok's for.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them out there. They're doing
Marty
those kind of
Makes
things.
Soup. It's going to be the TikTok channel that we all subscribe to.
That's right.
Marty Makes Soup.
All right. Thanks for listening, and thanks all for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. And we will be back next week. If until then, thanks again for watching, listening, and we'll talk again soon. Alrighty, yay! Thank you. Good job. My voice was
Okay,
killed.
peeps, I gotta get going.
See you, Ben. Thanks for coming.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Ben.